did not see this coming. In a million years, I did not see this coming.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we discuss The Expanse Season 5, Episode 7. Episode 7 gave me two of my favorite things, belter drama and the space battle scenes that this show is incredibly good at. First, we get this beautiful flashback of the Inaros family when Philippe was just a baby. Marco and Naomi seem so sweet and loving toward one another. You begin to wonder where it all went wrong. Back in the present, it becomes pretty clear as Inaros goes to Philippe asking for a so-called favor. It's clearly a test of loyalty though, as he tells his son that he wants to use Naomi's ship as bait for Holden and the others. When Philippe agrees, it's not enough. He manipulates the boy into denying that it has any sentimental value at all or that it means anything to him, which we know probably isn't true, judging by the conflicted emotions across his face. For now though, Inaros seems satisfied and goes on to bother Naomi in her cell. They talk about their relationship, how Naomi was glad to be rid of him. They discuss Philippe, and you can tell there's a battle of wills that starts between the two over their now-grown son. Naomi noting that if Marco killed her, Philippe would know his father for who he is, and Inaros retorts that if she harms anyone else on the ship, he'll know her for who she truly is as well, and he'll toss her out the airlock for good measure. I mean, look, the truth is these two are belters to the core. They're tough and fearless, and when necessary, absolutely ruthless. I love how when Naomi is around her people, this part of her personality really shines. Not only her natural dialect resurfaces, but so does her belter ways. For now though, she's free to roam, and roam she does, right to Philippe. This kid is having quite the day, with his parents basically playing tug of war with him. But to be fair, Naomi isn't pushy. Only when prompted by Philippe does she go into her experiences with Inaros, his hold over people, his charm and charisma that draws people in and causes them to want desperately to please him. Philippe asserts that isn't him, and he's his own man. He makes his own decisions, and she agrees. It's for that reason that she hopes he will defy his father and understand what they both have done and the harm they've caused. And then there's the moment this has all really been building to, when Philippe finally asks why she abandoned him. She tells him the story we all know as he finally embraces her. She didn't want to leave her son behind, but Inaros kept the boy from her in an effort to force her back into the relationship, a decision which nearly drove her to take her own life by stepping out of an airlock. Only at that moment she realized if she did that, Philippe would still be without her. It wouldn't change a thing. The two part ways, and Naomi is approached by Sin, a man she's seen as not only a friend, but a kind of father figure. And frankly, they all sort of see him that way. They share a drink, and after she apologized for attacking him and her daring effort to warn Holden, he apologizes to her, but for a much greater sin. He's known all along where Philippe was. He helped Inaros to hide the boy from her all these years. This exchange is absolutely heartbreaking as Naomi can barely process the betrayal. But if there's any way he can make it up to her, it's now, and she asks him to help her. And for his part, he does try. Sin goes directly to Inaros and asks him to let Naomi go, to stop hurting her. Instead, the response he receives is cold and disdainful, which, by the way, is a sentiment shared with Philippe as the boy steps up to ask for his own ship. Philippe wants the people to know who he is, but according to Inaros, he's nothing without him. He continues to rip away at his son's self-esteem, showing him people across the galaxy shouting Inaros' name and listing off his accomplishments, before quickly pivoting to seemingly building his son back up, leading the crew in a chant of his name, Philippe, 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 promising that as his heir, Philippe will be remembered and he'll be a leader of their people someday, but only after Inaros himself is gone. Until then, he'll remain in the shadows. This is one of the best portrayals of emotional abuse and manipulation I've seen on screen. It's a fantastic display of how narcissists operate, pushing and pulling away the people they purport to care about, like puppets on a string, ever on edge, ever trying to please, never quite sure where they stand. It's a subtle kind of brutality that's hard to escape. Later on, Naomi is brought to Inaros and he reveals to her his plan to use her ship to lure in the Rocinante. After everyone she cares about is dead, only then he'll let her go. She pleads with Inaros, who is simply enjoying her pain. She pleads with her son, who lashes out with a vicious slap before returning to his father's side. Even Sin literally turns his back on her. Seemingly distraught and out of options, Sin finds Naomi near an airlock, which has been foreshadowed throughout the show. He catches up to her, entering the airlock himself, and pleads with her not to take her own life. She says he shouldn't have followed her, opens the door, and walks out onto the bridge. Sin dies right where he stands, only, as it turns out, Naomi had absolutely no intention of taking her own life. We see in her hand a syringe of hyper-oxygenated blood, which I would bet anything was given to her by Philippe. That will keep her alive as she floats across open space to her ship and scrambles inside. She's safe, at least for now. This was an incredibly insane scene. I loved everything about it because I didn't know what she was really going to do until it was done, and then I wasn't sure if it would be successful. It was pretty close there, and yet she made it. Meanwhile, Holden closes in on the protomolecule. There is some back and forth with Bull about Fred and how Holden had his reservations and how similar they are. It made me wonder whether they were perhaps setting Holden up as the next leader of the Belters. And there's also an insightful discussion about Holden and Monica, about who is really behind the Belter attack. Could it be Mars? Why else would they allow entire gunships to fall to the Free Navy? It feels far worse than some random black market deal. And next, we get a transmission from Alex. It's crystal clear, so that must mean he's nearby. The two exchange messages about the Free Navy, prompting Holden to scan the ships, and he sees Naomi's there among them. There was a moment there where we were not sure what Holden would do. I mean, he can be incredibly rash and might go after it, but luckily he's talked down by Bull and Monica, who look at each other with a sigh of relief. Holden asks Alex to keep an eye on Inaros' crew and focuses back on the mission at hand. When they're just about to catch up to their target, the ship launches a barrage of missiles. The Rossi spins away in an epic evasive maneuver, with their own missiles spiraling to take out the torpedoes headed their way. This awesome combat scene is followed by dead silence. Initially, the plan was to destroy the ship and win at the protomolecule, but Holden begins to rethink the idea, as boarding it would allow him to get more info on Naomi's whereabouts. And here we go, Holden being Holden. Frankly, being a lot like Fred too, but what he didn't expect, and neither did I, was that the ship apparently had a backup plan. Total and complete destruction. The protomolecule is gone now. Or is it? So again, I really enjoyed this episode. I love the growth we see in Philippe. Naomi has seemingly achieved her goal of getting her son back, at least emotionally, but he's still in Inaros' control physically, and we really don't know what Inaros will do when he pieces together what's happened. The twist at the end of her escape was amazing. I have no words for how great that scene was. And back on the Rossi, Monica, as annoying as she always is, may be onto something with Mars. It never really sat right with a lot of people that Belter terrorists would be able to amass an actual navy of so many massive warships on the black market. This storyline reintroduces the political intrigue the show's known for, and Alpha Sarala is sure to jump all over the news when she discovers that the Earth-Martian War is nowhere near over. Last but not least, I don't believe for a second that the protomolecule is gone. There's absolutely no way. But then again, we do know there's possibly a much worse alien threat on the horizon, and getting rid of one threat may well allow the show to introduce the next one. But What are your thoughts on this episode? Is the alien threat a thing of the past? How's Marco going to respond now that Naomi is gone? And Sin too, for that matter. Let's discuss in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.